Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to discuss a topic on workman compensation reserve. You must be thinking like, okay, obviously most of you are familiar with this topic, but most of you are right now, I hope, in reconstitution of partnership chapter, that is admission, either admission or retirement or change in profit sharing ratio chapter or death chapter. Okay, so right now today we are going to discuss the treatment or accounting adjustment of workmen compensation reserve in one more chapter that is there in our syllabus, that is dissolution of firm. Dissolution of partnership firm. That is the last chapter usually in, if you are going through any reference books and all. Okay, it is last chapter in the partnership part. In your NCERT book also, when it comes to partnership, this is the last chapter. Okay, last chapter in partnership part. Okay, so basically what is dissolution of firm? We will come to that and slowly we will go into the topic. Okay, one question is already on the screen. We will do that after discussing what is dissolution of firm and why we are discussing workmen compensation reserve separately in this chapter. Okay, so when it comes to this, first of all, dissolution of firm means when the business which is carried on by the partners comes to an end, then that can be called as dissolution of firm. As you know, in the case of change in profit sharing ratio, just take the example of that chapter. In that chapter, 2 or 3 partners will be sharing profit in a particular ratio, and from a point of time they will decide that okay, they will change their profit sharing ratio. That is how that chapter is there, right? So from that moment the profit sharing ratio changes and they will continue the business again. That is happening in all the other chapters also. When a new person comes into the business as a partner, that is admission of partner, in that chapter also what is happening? When a new person comes, again business is carried on. Okay, when a person retires, retirement chapter, when a person retires, suppose 3 partners were there, one of them retires, then the other partners will be continuing the business. That is why we studied that also as an example of reconstitution of firm. Again, death chapter, 3 partners were there, one partner died. Okay, so in that case also we will be continuing the business. That means other partners will be continuing the business. In all these situations, generally business will be continued by the partners. Clear? But there is a case where business is completely closed by the partner, that is basically called dissolution of firm. So in dissolution of firm, the treatment of workmen compensation reserve, okay, is different, slightly different than the other chapters. Other chapters means obviously reconstitution of partnership chapters. This reconstitution of partnership is also known as dissolution of partnership. I didn't write dissolution of partnership here, I wrote dissolution of partnership firm here. So dissolution of partnership means, here we can mention it as dissolution of partnership firm also, no problem. Okay, so dissolution of partnership firm or dissolution of firm. Okay, dissolution of partnership is the other name of reconstitution of partnership. That means the chapter which you studied so far. Which are the chapters? Admission, change in profit sharing ratio, retirement, death. All these chapters are example of reconstitution of partnership as well as dissolution of partnership. When it comes to firm, when the word firm is used in the after dissolution, okay, then it means the end of the business. So when it comes to the end of the business, you know, first we will discuss about workmen compensation reserve, how it is treated in other chapters. So when it comes to the previous chapters, just take the example of change in profit sharing ratio, how this workmen compensation reserve is handled. We will transfer, there will be an amount called workmen compensation claim. Workmen compensation claim means basically workmen compensation reserve is a reserve which is kept to pay compensation to the workers. So if any compensation like that comes up, okay, then that amount that we have to pay is called workmen compensation claim. So that amount will be transferred from workmen compensation reserve to workmen compensation claim account. Still, if any amount is remaining in workmen compensation reserve, it will be shared among the partners. Which partners? In all the other chapters we will have 2 type of partners, two category of partners. We can classify them like that. The one category was there just before the change happened in the business, and one category is there after the change happened. That means, say for example, A and B were partners, C is admitted into the business. So A and B are the partners who were there before the change. Before the change means the change is C coming to the business. So A and B you can be called as old partners and C can be called as new partner. And after the change, all these people are actually new. Okay, they are running the business with new terms and conditions. So old partners are also there, new partner are also there. Okay, because of that, old profit sharing ratio was also there, new profit sharing ratio was also there, right? So in those chapters we will be sharing the balance in workman compensation reserve after transferring it to claim. In which ratio? Old ratio. Whatever is remaining in workman compensation reserve will be shared to the old partners in their old ratio. Old partner means existing partners in their old ratio, right? Here also, when there is no claim, there is no problem. We are doing the same thing only. We will be transferring it to what? The reserve will be transferred to the old partners in their old ratio. But when there is claim, the treatment is slightly different. So now coming to this chapter, workman compensation reserve in the balance sheet was 75,000, and first case, I am reading the first case. Workman compensation reserve in the balance sheet was 75,000 and there was no liability towards workman compensation. Before that there is not much information. Two partners were there, they are sharing profits in the ratio of 3:2 and they are asking us to pass journal entries under each of the following situations at the time of dissolution of firm. Dissolution of firm already we discussed, it is end of the business. So when it is end of the business, first of all you check whether there is any claim or not. First case, there is no claim. When there is no claim, no problem, you can pass the same entry that you used to pass in the previous chapters. But in this chapter there are no two categories of partners like old partner, new partner and all. Only one category of partner will be there, they will be ending the business. That means only old partners, I mean existing partners only will be there. Okay, and only one profit sharing ratio will be there. There will not be any new profit sharing ratio. If the business continues, only new profit sharing ratio will be there, right? So as the business is not continuing, we will not have any such ratio. Okay, so first entry will be same like what you used to do. I'm just writing it in short, you have to write it in full. Workman compensation reserve account debit to X capital to Y's capital account. X capital account to Y's capital account. Here as there is no claim, we can transfer 75,000. Entry same like previous chapter, no need to get confused, same entry. So 75,000. Okay, 75,000 will be shared in which ratio? 3:2 ratio. That is the only ratio that is available. So 45,000 and 30,000. Now second case, narration you know, workman compensation reserve transferred to partners capital account in the profit sharing ratio of 3:2. Most of you are familiar with the narration, that is why I am not writing. Okay, when it comes to the upcoming cases where there is claim, we will discuss about the narration. Now second case is workman compensation reserve was 60,000 and liability was 75,000. When it comes to claim and all, in this chapter, okay, instead of revaluation account which we used to prepare for other chapters, that means other chapters means what? Reconstitution of partnership chapters, you used to prepare an account called revaluation account. There is no revaluation account here, which is actually replaced by one account. That account's name is realization account. Realization account. Realization account, as the name says, it is an account that is prepared to sell the assets and pay the liabilities. So obviously when a business is getting closed, many formalities are there, right? We have to sell the asset and with the money that we get, we have to pay the liabilities. This is the summary of it. When the topic comes in detail, we will discuss the detailed format of realization account. For doing this question, this much only you have to know, that is, the realization account is an account that is prepared to sell the asset and pay the liabilities. Finally, after doing all these things, some profit or loss may arise. That profit or loss, to calculate that profit or loss, we are preparing realization account. So there is an account called realization account. Why we are discussing it here is, first, okay, this account can be divided into three parts. First part, we will transfer all the assets and liabilities except some assets and some liabilities. Other than some assets and liabilities, almost all the assets will be transferred. Assets and liabilities will be transferred to this realization account in the first part. After that, what we are going to do is, we will sell the assets and pay the liabilities. pay the liabilities. Okay, the selling assets can be also called as realizing asset, realizing asset, from which the account got its name. Okay, realization. After selling and paying the liabilities, third party is actually calculating profit or loss, calculating profit or loss. Okay, this is how you have to do realization account. First transfer the asset, second sell the asset, and third calculating profit or loss. Okay, this is how you have to do this one. So when you are transferring asset and liabilities, this workman compensation reserve also should be transferred if there is a claim. I repeat, when you are transferring asset and liabilities to realization account, if there is claim for workman compensation reserve, then reserve should be transferred. How much should be transferred? There is a shortcut for that. Lowest of reserve amount or claim amount should be transferred. Lowest of reserve amount or claim amount. Now coming to the second case, workman compensation reserve was 60,000 and liability was 75,000. Which is the lowest of these two amounts? One is reserve amount, one is claim amount. So which is the lowest of this amount? Obviously 60,000 is the lowest amount. So when you are transferring, you have to transfer 60,000. So when you are transferring, this transferring of liability goes to the credit side of realization account. Remember, transferring of liability, as reserve is a liability, reserve should be transferred to the credit side of realization account. So you know how to convert it into an entry. What will be the entry? Workman compensation reserve account debit to realization account. Workman compensation reserve account debit to realization account. Now what did I tell? How much should we transfer? 60,000 or 75,000. That means 60,000 is the reserve amount, claim amount is 75,000. Lowest of this means 60,000. So 60,000 we have to transfer here. Narration will be workman compensation reserve transferred to realization account. Workman compensation reserve transferred to realization account. I just wrote it in short. You know how to write it properly. So you have to write proper narrations. Okay. After this, what we are supposed to do is, if there is any claim, that claim should be paid in the second part of realization account. Second part is what? Selling of asset and payment of liabilities. Among the payment of liabilities, one of the important liabilities that you have to pay is this claim. Okay. So when you are paying the claim in the realization account, debit side you will be writing to bank. Debit side you will be writing to bank. To cash also you can write. So either to bank or to cash account. Generally always try to use bank account. So to bank account we will be writing, and the actual amount of claim should be mentioned here, not the 60,000 which you transferred. Always remember, when you are paying the claim, the actual amount of claim should be paid. So actual amount of claim is how much? 75,000. So when you are paying, already I said it will come on the debit side of realization account as to bank. So you know how to convert it into an entry. Realization account debit to bank account. Here narration will be workman compensation claim paid. Workman compensation claim paid. Amount will be obviously actual amount of claim. So first what we discuss? Claim amount or reserve amount, whichever is less, should be transferred to the first part of realization account. After that, whatever is the actual amount of claim, we have to pay. Third part is calculation of profit or loss, that we can't do. With only one transaction, we cannot calculate the profit or loss of realization account. So that is just for explanation that we discussed. This account is divided or can be divided into three parts. Okay, that has nothing to do with these questions. Okay. Now you see 60,000 was the reserve available and 75,000 is the claim that is paid. Is there any reserve remaining so that we can distribute among the partners? No, there is no reserve available. Entire 60,000 we transfer to realization account. So there is nothing that is going to the partners capital account. If there is some amount remaining in reserve, that can be shared to the partners in their profit sharing ratio, same like the other chapter. Now third case is like this. Workmen compensation reserve was 75,000, liability was 60,000. It is the opposite case, right? I will erase this part so that we can do the working notes or small calculations and all explanations here. So as you can see here, so workmen compensation reserve was 75,000 and claim is how much? 60,000. Claim is 60,000. So what does it mean? 75,000 reserve we kept, 60,000 claim came. How much we have to transfer to realization account? Of course, 60,000 only we have to transfer. Lowest of the amount only we have to transfer. So we will pass that entry first. What is the entry? Workmen compensation reserve account debit to realization account. Narration: workmen compensation reserve transferred to realization account. Okay, 60,000 we are transferring. Okay, what will be the next entry? The actual amount of claim we have to pay. This is claim amount, this is reserve amount. Actual amount of claim we have to pay. So what will be the entry? Realization account debit to bank. Realization account debit to bank account. Actual amount of claim is 60 itself, so we are paying 60. Okay, we are paying 60. That is also done. What will be the narration? Workmen compensation claim paid. Actual amount we have paid. Now coming to the main part, that is what? There was a reserve of 75,000. We have transferred only 60,000 to the realization account. So still 15,000 is there, right? In reserve. This 15,000 will be transferred to which one? The partner's capital account. So next entry will be workmen compensation reserve account debit to partners were X and Y. So X capital account to Y's capital account. Okay. Here 15,000, X 9,000 and 6,000. How 9,000 and 6,000? 3:2 ratio, right? Okay. So 9,000 and 6,000. Narration: balance in workmen compensation reserve transferred to partners capital accounts in the profit sharing ratio of 3:2. So third case is done. Now coming to the fourth case. Fourth case is workmen compensation reserve was 60,000 and liability was 60,000. Both are same. Reserve is also 60 and as well as liability is also 60. So reserve 60,000, claim is also 60,000. Here there is nothing to think like, okay, which is the lowest amount. Both are same amount only. So same amount we can transfer to realization account. So first entry, workmen compensation reserve account debit to realization account. When there is no lower amount, both amounts are same, means you can transfer the same amount. Okay, same amount to the realization account. So here it will be 60,000. Okay, narration: workmen compensation reserve transfer to realization account. After that we have to pay the claim. Here actual amount of claim is also same. So realization account debit to bank account 60,000. Workmen compensation claim paid. Next is, after this what you are supposed to do is just think about the available amounts. Reserve was 60, claim was also 60. So we have transferred the entire reserve to the realization account. Is there anything remaining to be distributed to the partners or shared to the partners? No, nothing is remaining. So there is no entry for distributing the balance amount to the partners. Now last case. Last case, workmen compensation reserve was nil and liability was, so reserve is 0. So reserve is 0, but claim is there. Claim is 15,000. You know, liability, whenever they talk about some liability, it's claim only. Liability against workman compensation is 15,000. Now, as reserve is 0, should we transfer reserve to this one? What do you mean by reserve is 0? Reserve is nil or reserve is 0 means in the given balance sheet there is no reserve. In the given balance sheet there is no reserve. That is the meaning, right? So there is no reserve in the given balance sheet. So what to do? We should not transfer. Transferring part is only for the liabilities or assets that is already there in the balance sheet. But when you are transferring, you have to transfer the lowest of the amount only when it comes to workman compensation reserve. Why we are transferring? As I said, relation account first part is transferring the assets and liabilities to this one, except some assets and liabilities. So from where all these assets and liabilities are coming? These are coming from the same like the previous chapters, that means admission or retirement or change in provision ratio. There will be already a balance sheet which is given in the question. In that balance sheet, if workman compensation reserve is there or any other assets are there, so these kind of assets or liabilities only will be transferred to realization account. Okay, that is the meaning of the first part of realization account. When we are transferring asset and liabilities, that assets and liabilities are coming from the given balance sheet. So as the first adjustment says, workman compensation reserve in the balance sheet was 75. Already it is there in the given balance sheet. That is why we are transferring it to realization. Here there is no such reserve to transfer. So we should not transfer anything. But claim is there. What is the condition related to claim? But claim is there means we have to pay the claim. So when you are going to pay the claim, how will we pay? What is entry for payment of claim? Realization account, debit to bank account. Realization account, debit to bank account. How much? 15,000. Here also 15,000. This will be done. Narration will be workman compensation claim paid. Okay. Now think about the remaining reserve. Reserve itself is not there, so partners will not get any share. Only realization account second part, this bank account entry will be coming. So this is how workman compensation reserve is handled in the chapter of dissolution of firm. Okay, not a huge change, but sometimes it may be confusing for the students. Okay, because when you are studying these two chapters parallelly, sometimes confusion may come with the things. That is why I just made it very simple by saying that lowest of the amount should be transferred to realization account first, then actual amount of claim you can transfer it. If there is no claim, the entire amount can be transferred to the partners. Okay, I hope I made this concept clear for you. So I expect that all of you will be finding it easy to solve reserve related questions, especially workman compensation reserve related questions hereafter. Thank you.